Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Entrepreneurs. I'm really excited today. I have my friend Steve Spiro on, and you are in for a treat. That's all I'm going to say. So, Steve, where did you grow up?
Born and raised in the Bronx, the Boogie Down Bronx.
I love it. I love it. And what was it about the Bronx that's embedded in you?
I think, when you come from the Bronx, you're not like from, no disrespect to anybody, you're not from Greenwich, you kind of know you kind of had to scratch and claw to get whatever you wanted in life. So I feel like it makes me a little gritty. And that's kind of what the Bronx means to me. I mean, I was picked on, bullied, so I had to really claw out of that little
And did you play
ditch that I was in.
stickball? Is it true that Bronx boys play stickball?
Stickball, stoop ball, ring alivio,
Yeah, Ringalita.
three games we played. Yeah, crazy.
Well, I think you just answered my next question. What do you miss most about not being a kid anymore?
You know what? Honestly, I don't miss a lot. My experience was not the greatest in the sense that, I, picked on and bullied. So I don't have the most favorable, feelings about when I grew up. And my parents got divorced when I was like 11. So, that was a little bit of a traumatic experience back then culturally. It was like you were like an outcast if you had a, divorced family. So it was a time in my life. I don't have a tremendous amount of memories, but I like more recent, the 20s, 30s and up memories better than those
That's
years.
fantastic. Isn't that the way we all want it to be? Life
Yeah,
gets better and better because you make it
sure.
better and better.
Yep.
So I see you as an extrovert, but from the conversations we've had, I have the feeling you weren't always an extrovert. Is that true?
Well, I would say I'm still an introvert, but I forced myself to get out of my comfort zone. I have a slogan, there's danger in the comfort zone. And I'm always pushing myself beyond what I mean, the normal Steve would rather be in front of a TV or a computer, not dealing with anybody. But I know that gets old for me after like a day. And then I know I need to push myself and not just get into that little cave, so to speak.
And how do you do that? I'm sure many of our viewers are saying, gee, I wish I could do that. I can't do it. I just can't bring myself to do it. What are your top three suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, you got to know what you want, right? You got to know what your lifestyle. And a page from the book Simon Sinek wrote, Start with Why. You got to know why, right? You got to have a vision, a dream, a goal, kind of a destination on how you want to live your life. And I did, shy introverted or not, I definitely have traveled and enjoy traveling. So knowing of the kind of life I want, I have freedom and flexibility. That vision is clear to me, and striving towards that vision is important. But that in it by itself is tough. So you have to have a support system. I have a tremendous amount of people in my life. You, Madeline, I look to as one of those people that are
Thank
around,
you.
support me. I have a mentor in my life. I think that's extremely important. They say that the people you surround yourself, the 5 people the most, is what your net worth and a lot of the characteristics you take on. So I'm very
Excellent.
active about who I surround myself with on a regular basis. The power of association, right? There's also a kind of a success cliche, right? The way you are in life is based on the books you read and the people you associate with. So to that point, I read about 2 books a month, average. I say read. Another little my challenge is learning disabled, dyslexic. So reading was always difficult for me. So I audio book it. I love Audible. And I'm able to get through 2 books a month. And I also listen to podcasts and just constantly surrounding and putting good stuff in my brain, forward thinking type of things in my brain. And that's extremely helpful for me. I
And
also,
tell me, what's your current favorite? I'm going to share my current favorite. What is your current favorite audio or whatever learning thing right now? What are you listening to right now that you love?
right now I'm listening to The Infinite Game. It's a
Oh,
Simon Sinek book, and it's really an eye opener. It helps reinforce a lot of it's reinforcing what I've always believed, which is if you don't quit, you win. You just keep working at something. If you can continue sustaining
Exactly.
the game, most people lose because they can't anymore, right? So
Yeah,
but
I did Simon Sinek on my strategic thinking Saturday last week, so I'll send you my PowerPoint.
okay,
I
great.
love it. Of his favorite quote. So my current favorite is, let me see if you can see this, Authentic
Authentic success.
Success
Yeah.
by Robert Holden.
Okay.
Authentic Success by Robert Holden.
Nice.
I think you would love that, Steve. Okay, so now tell us about your career, like now, your current career, and what you really like about it. And this could be all facets of what you're doing.
Well, I mean, so I'll give you the story to get to where I am because it's
Excellent.
so got out of college. So I decided not to go into the family business. My dad had a liquor store, got into advertising and marketing. I went to high school for that, college for that, got out of college, took fate in my own hands, couldn't get a job. So started a company, had an office in the city. My first office was on 26th and Madison, and partner, and it was it was kind of like the tail end of the Mad Men era. It was crazy, wild times. Talk about memories. There's some good memories there. Some appropriate for viewership and some maybe not so much. So if anyone listening and wants to hear some of those off-color stories, I'm happy to share it. But anyway, so that career sort of morphed. I eventually wound up shutting that down after 6 years. My partner and I kind of went our separate ways and kind of went into the marketing and advertising world up in Westchester and Fairfield County, got into a niche of that, worked on some really cool brands, Smirnoff, Johnny Walker, Guinness, and a whole bunch of other non-liquor brands, Johnson and Bisco and Lever Brothers. And then 9/11 hit and I got laid off and I had to kind of pivot, right? And wound up going into technology sales. It's crazy, but on the evolutionary scale, below the chimpanzee is the orangutan, and the orangutan is a copier salesman, and that's what I wound up going into. so kind of did that for a while, and it really was an interesting experience. Kind of did very well, and then eventually got brought on to do consulting with a company called Quadient. So we automate and streamline how companies communicate with their clients, utilizing artificial intelligence, hardware, software. It's neat. And it's neat kind of working with, small and mid-sized businesses. Every day is completely different. So that's kind of, the day gig. But obviously love the entrepreneur world, do speaking engagements, do some coaching and mentoring, and actually just recently volunteered to be a mentor at SCORE. So I've got my hands in.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So if one of your SCORE clients, was to ask you, how would you answer this question? What's the hardest truth you've had to come to grips with? The hardest truth you've come to grips with?
You know what? I think it's the truth about who and what I was about. My biggest challenge in life and in business has been me. And I don't know
Interesting.
what you're looking for, but that's the answer that I had. Took a lot of years of growing and developing and finally becoming comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
It was only like practically 5 months ago that happened for me. There was a major transformation that started to happen 2 years ago, but the biggest transformation happened in the last 5 months. It's crazy.
Tell us about that.
I think I always compared myself to other people that were successful. And I had always heard this expression: "You'll always be a second class somebody else, but a first class you." But it never really clicked. I just kept thinking I got to be like so and so or somebody, and honestly, it just never worked. And I always felt unauthentic. I didn't feel good about me, and it just never worked. I didn't have a lot of success, in relating and connecting with people. I think people kind of felt like, there's a wall up. I mean, no one ever maybe said it, but I feel like there was barriers in building relationships. And of course, in business, relationships is everything, in my opinion. So the minute I finally got comfortable within my skin, and now I love to lead with my weaknesses. I lead with, my vulnerabilities. It's fine because I'm okay with who I am.
That
And
is
if
so
you don't
fantastic.
like who I am,
such a great role model. And I too have been challenged by the exact same thing. And maybe it's been in relationship with you and a few others like you that have released the chains. And my mentor, Alan Cohn, has been my mentor for 20 years. And I'm in constant, on his different things he does with his followers, so to the people who he coaches. It's a constant reminder to be the tree, be you, be, you'll ask him a question about what, and he'll put it right back at me. Maddie, you know the answer to that. Why are you asking me the question? You know already the answer. So just feeling comfortable that I'm enough and I don't need to be anybody else. That word comparison is just such a, it's like so many of us have to just release that. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to hear that. Thank you for sharing that. So would you rather win the lottery or the perfect client?
That's a perfect, I don't even know if there's such a thing as a perfect client. And, winning the lottery would be great. I guess if I had to choose one, I don't know. I guess I would say the lottery, but I'm not a lottery guy. I feel like work equity is your lottery, right? Dollar in a dream, sure, but what's the odds of winning? So I'd rather put 100% of the odds in my favor and invest in me. And the best investment is you invest in yourself, right?
Exactly. So what motivates you? What motivates you? So you're so motivated to work hard. So what's like, where is that? What's the why? What's the real why? What's the why that you're coming from?
I think it's a few things, right? It's a great question, but so I think number one, being picked on, bullied. I think I got a bit of a chip on the shoulder, right? There's a lot of people in my life, even today, that don't believe in me, that they're naysayers, and I think there's a part of me that wants to prove them wrong, right? And it's not about revenge, but success is the best revenge.
Absolutely.
So that there's a big drive there. I think that the motivation, I didn't share this piece of my life, but I'm a double black belt. I started training in '83.
Right.
I think what drove me to do that was, yes, some of the things I just shared with you, but the biggest thing, one of the big things that motivates me is to earn the respect of the people I respect. And that is a big burn for me, right? So there's certain organizations that I plug into, that I'm a part of, that there are people in that organizations that I probably initially compared myself with, or to, and but still respect people a lot and want to be respected, in that circle. So initially wanting to be a black belt and being in that realm, and
being the best of what you are. You want to be the best in whatever you do.
One of the reasons why I'm motivated to be on a TED Talk stage, right? I want to be respected by the peers of that I look at as peers.
And you already are. You just don't know that yet. So if you woke up one morning in another country, surrounded by people who spoke no English, and with only the clothes you slept in, what would you do?
Whew, that's an interesting question.
First thing you would do. What's the first thing you would do?
I would try my best to communicate with people, right? I would try to figure out a way to communicate and find an ally that could kind of, get me in a place where I would be able to be, get out of the situation I'm in and get into more, not in a survival mode, but to go into thriving mode,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're so resourceful that you would figure that out in 10 minutes. I know that. You would just like take a little moment to think and you say, okay, where am I? Is there a shopkeeper? What do I need to do to get myself a job right now? I could just see you doing that. Totally. That's really a classic question, but I really see you in that moment. And figuring it out quickly and creating another opportunity for yourself, you know? Very interesting. So if you could choose a superpower, you know, I really don't love that word, but it's like a trendy word right now, superpower. Like, what would you choose? And what is a superpower anyway to you? What's your definition of a superpower?
Well, it's funny. My wife calls me her Spiro hero.
Oh, I love that.
She uh,
Yeah.
she calls me her. And a lot of a lot of people kind of look at me as a superhero already in some ways. So I mean, the hard question to answer. But I will tell you this, and I shared some of my passion. And, I have a mission statement and it's very personal, so I won't share all of it. But a piece of it is really to save people. It really is. And so I really relate to the superhero, genre, so to speak. I really love the idea of saving people. And I think people, and I was one of those people, right? Where my life, I was floundering. I was feeling despair. I was feeling lost. I just, maybe to a degree, lack of direction. I was, one point in my life, I was, drinking and all sorts of stuff that was just trying to fill the hole in my life. And so having the ability to save people's lives in a way, whether it be from financial bondage, from maybe some spiritual despair, those things are extremely important and impactful for me. And you mentioned bondage. Is people are held in bondage by many of these things, right? So if I could had the ability to help people, right? You've heard me talk about the starfish, right?
One at a time, helping them one
yeah,
at a time, throwing it back into the
pick up
ocean.
the starfish. There's a
Right.
500,000 on
Yeah.
the washed up, and you throw the starfish back. And the old man said, "Why? What possible difference?" And he said, "Well, I just helped that one, right?" And
Right, exactly. One
one
at a
at a
time.
time,
One at
right?
a time. So two things I want to say at this point. We need to find a Google image, and I'm going to work on it. Spiro Hero. We need a visual of that. A Spiro Hero character, and then we're going to write a cartoon about that. That's like fantastic. That's fantastic. So I don't want, as the time is winding up in a few minutes, for people to get in touch with you. Once this is on my website, it'll have all your contact information. But the easiest way is to look you up on LinkedIn,
You're
Steve
correct.
Spiro,
Correct.
Spiro. Is that
Yep,
correct? And
that's
you
correct.
do have these weekly, wonderful, fired up Friday videos that people can pay attention to, and you have a whole collection of them. And soon there will be a book of all of these things
Thank you.
that we
You
will,
helping me with that?
well,
Yep.
we'll get you back to talk about that. And then the last thing I want to ask you is okay. So when you schedule your day, when you plan your day, because so many people have challenges with being overwhelmed. There's so much to do. There are a lot of people to meet, especially more so now during this confinement process than even when we were out there. So how do you organize your life? How do you think? What is your thought process?
Yeah, I've used an expression for years, and I've said I live and die by my calendar. And if you put, and I love these little devices, right? The
Yeah.
the the great, you could put everything in there, and they even alert you. I remember back in the day when I was in the advertising career, I would walk around with the planner, and it was great. But be all over the place. You're moving and shaking. I'm in different
And you didn't
offices, and I wouldn't
remember.
always
You didn't
take my planner
remember.
with me.
Right, right.
And so like I'd be like, oh, we have a meeting. It was already started 5 minutes. Yeah, what do you got to? You got to look at your planner every 3 minutes. I mean, just impossible. Then this device came up. Back in the day, it was a Palm Pilot. It wasn't even a
I
phone.
had that. I love my Palm
Yeah,
Pilot. Yeah.
and I put everything in there. It was alerting me, and the next meeting was, it was great. It was awesome, and so everything in my calendar. I heard a great audio by a guy named Terry, I think it's Gagna, and it's Empty Spaces, and he talked about how either we're doing future-based events or we're doing present-based events, and future-based events I heard the best, and again, I'll use another story, another analogy, but a professor was trying to teach the kids, his students. They were all aching about all the overwhelmed about homework and all that. And this will answer your question, I think, the most effectively.
Sure.
He said, "See, okay." And so next class, they came in, and they saw there was like a shop class, and there was a big counter and that big beaker, filled glass beaker, and alongside that beaker was these huge rocks, right? And then he started talking to class, and he filled the rocks up into the beaker, filled it to the top, and asked the class, is this glass beaker full? And the class said, of course, yeah. So then he pulled underneath the counter, he pulls out pebbles. He pours the pebbles in, and they fit themselves in between the rocks. And he's like, is the glass full? And they're like, most of them said yes, some were starting to catch on. Then he pulls out gravel, and
Exactly.
and now everyone pretty much said, yeah, that's full. And then he pulls out sand, and then he pours it in, and everyone like, yep, it's full. Well, then he pulls out water, pours it in. He says, now it's full. He said, what happened if you would have put the sand and the pebbles first? Would everything that I just put into this beaker fit? And of course, the answer is no. And most people live their life like that. They put everything in there randomly, and they try to make it all fit. The most important thing that I've learned to do is put the big rocks in first into your calendar, and then the other things can fit in between. And again, if it's not in my calendar, it's not going to happen. So that's how I live my life. And if it's very peaceful, because I know it's there. Most people, especially the younger generation, they try to keep it all up here, and it's the silliest thing you could do. I tell them all the time, you got this thing. You're on this thing all the time. Use the calendar. It's awesome. And then it frees up the mental space, because if you try to keep it all in your head, you're bogged down. It's like a computer, you gotta take all the memory, you offload it, and then it frees up memory so you can operate more effectively on a computer. If your brain is a computer, same thing. So
Great story. It's one of my favorite stories, and I constantly reminded of that. It's such a great story, Steve. I love it, and I love that you told it, and I love that you spent this time with me today, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for investing this time, and we'll have to do it again soon.
It's a pleasure, privilege, honor.
It's a pleasure. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you the next time. So for the entrepreneurs, this is Madeline Klein signing off for today.